me about swales.
Supposedly the advantage of building swales on your line or on your property is to trap the water up on the hills to keep it up there so it doesn't run off onto your neighbors. And so you have a foot of drop every 100 feet. That's the way that they line them up with these lasers. And so the dozer comes in and builds this ditch and puts a bank on the downward side, and that is where you plant your trees. So the idea is to plant trees on the back of the swale. The swale traps the water, holds it up there, and the trees get a drink every time it rains. Okay? Well, what happens in our situation, we have 300 head of cattle and we're trying to graze around these swales. You can't let them in the swales, because if you do, they'll just take them out. They just stomp them in. And so you've got to put all these little narrow fences to protect those swales. When you bring cattle in there, they get on that in between the swale strips, and you get a rainstorm, they absolutely trash it. I mean, you're talking feedlot. It looks like a feedlot. And in the wintertime, you can't get around these swales because you can't get a pickup across them. So you can't feed hay on the swales. You can't get it down to the rest of your farm unless you build a bridge. And that was what we were told to do. If you want to go over a swale, you build a bridge.
So how much did it cost?
We had altogether, with the consulting services for the swale designer and the dozer, we ended up with $7,000.
On how many acres?
On 10 acres. $7,000 for 10 acres. And so if I did the math on that, we're trying to trap the water, okay, and keep it up on the hill. You know how many big round bales I could have bought for $7,000? And unrolled those out on those hills and fed them to my livestock. You know how much organic matter I could have built? You know how much water I could have trapped and held up on there? For every 1% increase, in organic matter that you build in your soil, you hold 25,000 gallons of water per acre per year.
And what's happening on those swales now?
The swales haven't even vegetated over.
Really?
No,
How many years?
because I ripped it open. There's clay under there. That clay has not healed. So we got bare soil now on all these swales. It's been 4 years.
And cedars?
And some of the swales have washed out because you get this flow of water now going down them. And if you don't get that swale up just right, it'll bust through the dam. Now you got a dang ravine washing down through your farm.
And Kathy, we should go over and take pictures of them.
Okay.
So, I'm going to sit here. I'm not impressed with swales on our operation. Now, on some people's operation, it may work, but just be careful. I think if you're limited in resources and funds, man, go find somebody's hay, buy some old hay, get your livestock on the land, build some organic matter with that hay. That's a good starting point. Plus, you've got something to sell right away. The thing about planting trees on swales, they say, well, you can get these nut crops and all this. That's fine, but it's going to take you 20, 25 years. How are you going to make your land payment if you can't graze through those swales without tearing your farm to pieces? If you're in the grazing business. So I guess I'm throwing a red flag up to people that have fairly large herds of cattle. Be careful when you go in and swale your farm. These cattle have a hard time negotiating through those swales with all these wires in place. It's a wreck. It's just a wreck. And I can't afford to build a bridge from one swale to the next. I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. That's just putting more cost into our bugaboo that we've already find ourselves in. So I'm going to hire a dozer to come in the next year, because the landowner's not happy. He is really upset because now he can't access his land because these swales are all over. He can't get over them with his golf cart. He can barely get over them with a four-wheeler. And so the parts that you can't get access to on your farm is doing what? It's growing up into brush. And he's not a happy camper. And so we lease land and we have an unhappy camper, we lose that lease. So now I'm going to have to spend another $3,500 minimum to bring a dozer in there to fill in all these swales.
And cut brush.
So now we're going to be at $10,500 in cost. My God, I could have bought a lot of hay.
And for 10 acres.
Yeah, all on 10 acres. We're not talking hundreds of acres here, folks. I mean, when you start moving dirt with a dozer that's charging you $125 to $150 an hour, it's not a cheap deal. It is not a cheap deal. So just be careful. If you're going to do the swale thing, and I had limited funds, I would focus on building organic matter. Simple.
Done.
That's my talk on swales. And
But we need to go over there now.
I'm sure I'll get some chastisement from this, but
Yeah.
I just want people to realize before they spend a lot of money what they're doing.
And
Yeah.
we should go over there, Kathy, and
Okay.
so you